are alive. So this is yet another fantastic and phenomenal installment of Fire and Desire. Let's talk about it. Trinity Ministries Co-op is bringing this to you by way of Dr. Candace Williams, Apostle Octavia McClendon, myself, Pastor Ken Funderburg. We are super, super stoked about what God is going to reveal to us in this time. Please, as a PSA, kind of how we're going to do things, housekeeping as it were, feel free to jump in the chat. Feel free to jump in the chat. Please give your responses, write your comments, ask your questions. We want to respond to those. Somebody's going to catch it. I'm going to try to monitor, but somebody's going to catch it and we will respond. We enjoy the feedback. This is not a monologue by way of us just conversing and you all just being in observance. We want you to be able to interact with us. So we definitely want this to be interactive. We welcome you all for all of those that will be joining and those that are yet popping on. We're so, so grateful for you being here. We're excited about what God is doing. Dr. Candace with the red chair, though. I didn't even notice that. Wait a minute.
Well, she's blending in with us tonight, huh?
I'm telling you.
Does the red chair go with the red shoes? The red, what's it called?
I bet you this with the red bottoms.
Red bottoms.
I listen. I bet Dr. Candace got some red bottoms. It would surprise me if she didn't. It really would. It really would. But as we wait for never mind. There she is. Who is it? You got to unmute though. You got to unmute so we can get all that wonderfulness. Unmute yourself. Can't you mute it?
I am again. Okay. Can you hear me now?
Yes, ma'am.
You hear you now.
See, that's a message right there for somebody to preach. Can you hear me now?
That part.
I know that's right.
Up, run with it. Hey, this is your girl, your sister, your cousin, your auntie, and your friend, Dr. Candace Williams, skirting around that good old corner. Listen, y'all, we got some things we won't talk about. We want to continue this wonderful conversation right here on the Trinity Co-ops with my two brothers who have probably already introduced themselves. Again, you all know who we are. But before we get started into what we want to talk about tonight, I want to start off to this right now. We'll do it at the beginning and at the end with some public service announcement. Listen, y'all, I need things to be right and be tight because some things is coming down your street, your alley, across the highway, the byways that you can plug into and be blessed. One of those things is about to be happening this month on the 24th and the 25th of May. This month, listen, I need all men, all men. We calling all the brethren. We calling the uncles, the papas. We calling all of y'all. Come on together because they're going to have a 2-day men's conference. And I'm going to let Pastor Ken Funderburg tell you a little bit more about what this conference is going to be about and why you need to be there.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Listen, on demand. It is on demand. We are going to be talking about a number of different topics that pertain to manhood, to our wellness, our mental health, our mental wellness, our emotional wellness. We're going to be diving in. Listen, the way I like to say it, and there's a number of men's groups I've been a part of and men's conferences and so forth and so on. And I know this may sound a little off to you, but trust me, it'll make a lot of sense here in a minute. In this conference, these men, we're going to get buck naked. That's what we got to do. We got to get naked. We have to get to the place where we can open up and share with one another what's been going on with us, what God is doing with us, how we've come through, how we've traversed, how we've seen the victory. And that's what we're going to be talking about. That is what these 2 days are going to be about. Friday evening, starting about 7. From about 7 to 9, we're going to have our introduction, our kickoff, probably a little worship in there. We got a slew of amazing presenters, one of which Apostle Octavia McClendon. So we're definitely going to have some time to dive in from these brothers' perspectives. I got men coming from the West Coast. I got men coming
Come
from the East
on.
Coast. Literally, this is going to
I'm
be
through.
semi-virtual. So all the brothers that are in the DFW area, should you choose, we will be streaming. Well, the meeting will be virtually broadcast from my home. So you are more than welcome to be here with me physically. And those that are out of town and things of that nature, you guys can tap in through the Teams meeting. It is just for men. It's just for men. So you ain't got to worry about metering your speech or trying to pad your conversation. Leave your titles at the door. This ain't got nothing to do with the letters in front or behind your name, but it has everything to do
Oh,
with God that's in your heart. So we're looking forward to seeing you there. There will be periodic PSAs that come out. Our first flyer will be out this week, hopefully by tomorrow. And then you'll see a few more as we get closer. So just be ready to tap in, lock in with us. All that information be coming to you real soon.
amen. And I'm super excited because I got a little skin and a little entail, and so on and so forth. But there's gonna be some great panelists that this man of God is gonna be having that's gonna be joining you. And as he said, you're gonna get further information about who those individuals will be. But again, this is for the brethren. Man of God, let me just pause right there because I want to talk about how important it is that this conference take place and that these men come together. How important it is, and for them just to gather together to help strengthen one another, because I'm sure the ultimate goal is at the end that this you want them to be better men, better husbands, better friends, better everything.
Absolutely.
Entrepreneurs, whatever it is.
Absolutely. Absolutely. The you'll probably hear this quite a bit throughout the conference. This is something that my grandfather shared with me years ago. He said the most dangerous person in the world is a man who's had the opportunity to think. So we want to empower men to think, empower men to move with discernment and with wisdom. And there are key ways to do that. There's key ways that will allow you or assist you in that growth, because it's not going to happen overnight, though God can. But we're going to take the journey together. And the thing is, Dr. Candace, and we've talked about this, after this conference, this ain't gonna be the first one. This ain't the last one. I'm sorry, this is the first one. It's not the last. We will do this periodically, and the goal is for the men to tap in with one another, get locked in. Men have a hard time creating relationships, fostering relationships. We don't do that often, and we're pretty particular about it. So this is a chance to do that as well, for us to kind of link up and have that constant contact, because you need a village. You need a village.
Yeah,
If it takes a
yeah.
village to raise children, it takes a village of men to be able to hold one another up.
Exactly. And I'm just super excited about it. And so, anyways, there's some other things coming up that we're gonna make mention of a little bit later. But I really wanted to get that one out since that one is happening this month. And we'll talk about the other things that's about to come. These men and women of God, y'all, I want y'all to know that they are consistently on fire, wanting to see the greater come forth through men and women of God. And this is why we come here faithfully every Tuesday and every Thursday to talk about having some wonderful open dialogues and discussions on relationship, fire, and desire, because there's a lot of relationships that's out there that's simply just in trouble. They are in trouble. And certainly we want to come and bring you back to the foundation of the Word of God while giving you transparent moments to help you right on along the way. And there's a lot of laughter, a lot of fun, a whole lot of pondering things that is being said that make you think about your thinking and think some more so you can be better for the coming. And so, anyways, last week we had the awesome, wonderful opportunity to talk about some great things. We talked about uh, um, expectation versus preparedness equals and receive. So you can be able to receive. And we talked about um, men want respect and appreciation. We got stuck right there for a good little while last week. That what men want respect and appreciation. And them brothers, I'm telling you, was on fire last week because they said when they are being not just respected listen, but just being appreciated, because you can't appreciate someone without respecting that person. So them getting that reciprocity of appreciation from the women, their wives or what have you, just make them want to do even more. Sister girl, let me holler at you, girl. Come a little closer. Because listen, this is what they saying they want. Give it to them. Give it to them. Give it to them. And so that was just so awesome. And the man of God, I believe Pastor Ken, said that appreciation fuels that man. It fuels him. It's like putting gas in his tank. And he can get to moving. And then they came out of Proverbs chapter 12, verse 4, and they did Proverbs 19 and 14. You get a chance, go back and check out those scriptures. It's going to bless your life. And we talked about some things that you need to do to enhance what you have. They talk about doing date nights. They talking about keep showing up. Pastor Ken said that. Keep showing up.
Got to keep showing
Keep
up.
showing up. And then the other thing they talk about, assess where you are and where you are not. Where are you? Are you in the moment? Or are you just there? Are you
Mm,
just there, but you're not really there? You're
mm.
there
Mm.
in bodily form, but you're not there mentally, you're not there emotionally, and you're not tapping in.
My God.
That was real powerful. You want to talk a little bit on that? Y'all want to
My,
come in on that?
who was that? Who was that? Me or
I,
Apostle Octavia?
I, I,
I
I,
can't
I
remember
don't,
which one of y'all it
I don't
was.
Man.
remember. Um, but I will go ahead and just chime in, I guess, right now.
Well, come
Something
on
that I
in.
was, something I was looking at. You know, you were talking about what we men desire, what we want, and I was reading an article, and I was so amazed when I found this. I'm glad able to share this. It talked about the four appetites of men. Four appetites of men.
Mm.
You have the emotional appetite, the physical appetite, the visual appetite, and the sexual appetite. And in those things, we said what men want. We want to be appreciated. We want to be respected. We want to be understood and heard. Like you're saying, are you in the room, but you're not in the room? Are you listening, but you're not really listening?
Mm.
Um,
Mm-hmm.
one of the things that personally that kind of irritates me and kind of gets under my skin is if I'm talking to someone and we're in the same room, and while I'm talking to them, I'm watching their body language, their mannerism. They're multitasking and everything, and they'll say, keep on talking. I'm listening. I'm listening." So I'll say something, then I'll throw something out there to see if they really were listening, and then come back and I'll wait a few minutes, and I said, "Did you hear the question I asked you?" They said, "What question?" I asked you. You didn't hear the question I asked you? No. What question was it? Oh, but you told me to continue to talk because you can hear me. So it's important that because we know the woman that's in our lives, we definitely know that they want our undivided attention. If we show any kind of debug of where we are not in tune, we are not hearing, we're not listening. Um,
They
I was
will
looking at
tell you.
this art. It was they'll let us know. Oh yeah. I was looking at it was like a skit or something, and the wife came to the husband and she stood beside him and held her hand out that she wanted some money. So he goes into his wallet and pretends like he's pulling out books and putting it in her hand, and she's not getting anything. And so he sits back and laughs and chuckles and looks at her and said, "I love you." So she takes it, goes through the motions like she's putting it in her purse, and she walks away. Then comes back. The second part of that skit was the family is sitting at the table, the dinner table, and they're waiting for the wife, the mama, to come in here and put the food on the plate, on the table. So she does. She brings a pot in there, and they think it's food in there. She brings out the plates, puts the plates each in front of them, and she opens up the pot lid, the lid off the pot, takes the ladle and dips like she's dipping something out of the pot, and there's nothing in there. And she's putting it in the bowls like they were supposed to eating super stew or something. And she's hitting up the side of the pot, and there's nothing there. And she says, enjoy, and walks away. And I said, now that makes a lot of sense. Are we listening to each other? Are we paying attention to the body language and the mannerism of each other? Are we sincere in hearing? I heard years ago, don't listen only with your ear gate, but listen with your heart as well. Because there's something that's being stated that might be very sincere, serious to her heart, and she may be trying to see if you're listening. One thing I learned years ago is when it comes that time to have that talk session around the table or discussion, or we're going to have some serious, I take a little notepad or some little flashcards or something. And well, what are you doing? I remember one of my wife said to me one day, she says, what are you doing? I'm writing down all the nuggets that you're going to put out here. So when it comes time for me to respond and reflect, I remember everything you said to me. And what I would do is just maybe jot down one or two little words here and there out of the sentence. So when I go back to look at that word, it will, jolt me back to the statement of the conversation or what she had stated. And I would say, I just make sure, did I understand you when you said this, when you said that? A lot of times we hear, but we don't hear. We hear, but we don't understand. And I'm telling you, it.
Man, I have a question for you, Apostle. Real quick,
Yes,
I need you to run them four back because I have emotional appetite, physical appetite, sexual appetite. I did not catch the fourth one.
visual.
Visual, gotcha. Well, visual definitely
And see
before sexual.
something else. I think, Lord, thank you, Lord. I'm glad you told come back on that. Let me go back to that. In these appetites, if our wives, who we have said, uh, to death do us part, I go through my marriage vows, forsaking all others. Well, when we say we're forsaking all others, we're trying to do exactly that. We're not trying to be pulled in by the little whims and the little bait that the other woman is throwing out there. However, this is where the devil tries to come in, the enemy comes in to mess us up. If we are not, just like the woman, if we are not as men, not having our appetites met, and not just meet, but fill up my appetite, the devil will send somebody along the way to satisfy that appetite. It could be through a little uh, smile. It could be a little gesture. Oh, man, you're looking good today. Well, did our wives tell us that? Did we get that? Not saying that we need to have that assurance or anything, but it sounds better
Wait, man.
coming from our wives than from another woman.
Oh, oh,
Just,
oh,
just like our wives. Baby, you don't think I'm attractive anymore? Yeah, you always attractive. Well, that's not what she's looking for. She's actually saying somewhere along the line, if that statement was made, you as the man failed in your responsibility. Always ensure that if she's meeting our appetites, that we are as well meeting hers.
yes. There is an absolute need for deposits and withdrawals.
Mm-hmm.
You did say something though, Apostle, and it's not that I would just flat footed disagree. I would just say there are variants to that, and that is we are looking for not necessarily validation. That's a little
Right.
too strong, but
Mm-hmm.
and it depends on within what space. But
Mm-hmm.
we do want to feel and receive that appreciation. Listen, I've asked my honey before now, and then
Oh
now mind
yes.
you, we're newlyweds. Essentially, we will be hitting our year mark pretty soon. So while we've been together almost 3 years, but I've asked her, do I get your motor running?
Right.
Because there's a part of me that still needs to know that I turn her on.
Yes.
I know I do.
Oh yeah. Mm-hmm.
Of course I do. But there's still but I need to hear it, right? And
Yes.
and
Yes. Yes.
and both sides, both men and women have that part of us. It is akin to validation. Again, it's not complete and totally validation, but it is a part of it. It is a factor. So there's
Like an affirmation.
correct, yes, definitely.
That's the
Thank
word.
you.
Yes.
Better word, affirmation. And so we need that, and
Mm-hmm.
both sides need that. The thing is, it carries more weight when it's unprompted than it
Yes.
does if it was
Yeah.
prompted. If it was prompted and you get
Mm-hmm.
it, then cool, you're still going to accept it. But it would be so much more amazing if you got that without it. And so the thing is, when it comes down to affirmation in its raw form, it almost doesn't matter what vehicle it comes in,
Mm-hmm.
right? The major difference being for women, and correct me if I'm wrong, Dr. Candace, but if another woman admires something about you physically, you typically don't feel any kind of way about it other than appreciative. Okay, girl, appreciate that. Hair popping or whatever. Now, similarly, if a guy, or conversely, if a guy does that with another guy, it depends on the context and just how much you affirming, because then I'm be like, hey doc, hold on now,
That right there.
hold on now. But I
It
had
kind of like, huh?
a young brother, a young brother of mine
That's
who
funny.
absolutely amazing, and he said we were just chatting, and he was like, "Oh man, I see that working out paying off, man." And I'm like, you know what? Appreciate it. Thank you, man. I thank you. And so again, there's levels to it, and there's the spaces where it can get weird, but we do. Humans need that. It's not just the
Yeah.
physical touch. We need that verbal touch, the affirming touch, that says, "I see you." That's really what it's about. I see you.
The emotions. Yeah.
And let me just say this too, because those same things that you guys say that men want, women want the same things too. It's on both sides. And again, it ought to be unscripted. It ought to come from a
Right.
place of love. It shouldn't be something where you got to be prompt to tell somebody, I love you. You should say, I love you because that's what you really do. You really love that person. Or I really care about you. You look cute today. Girl, you fly. Oh, boy, that haircut, you popping. You looking, being able to say those things unscripted to one another is that wonderful affirmation that again that is needed on both sides, because for some reason I don't know why people think that women are blind. We are not. We see what we see, we like what we like, and many women, they go after what they like, bottom line. And so we are visual too. So we see things. We want that physical, just like a man do. We want that mental, that emotional. We want that sexual. We want it all too. We want the total package, if I could say it in that form. We want that total package. Everybody wants that because all of those things encompass a real good, healthy relationship, having all of those components. But when you are lacking in one of those things, that other person, your partner, may be the one to make up the difference and have you where they can now whet your appetite. And I'm not talking about WET, I'm talking about WHET. They can whet your appetite for you to grow in whatever area, but you have to be open to know how to role reverse. You have to know how to be the student as well as the teacher.
Hmm.
Because sometimes if you think that you got it all in you and this is just it, this just where it's go, you're gonna miss some of the probably the greatest part because that person is also bringing some experiences as well and stuff that you may can benefit from. You will probably want to benefit from them. But I think that being open is going to really create a very, very good relationship. It's going to create because your your relationship, your marriage should not be like it's not a cookie cutter thing. It is not, but it's tailor made for you guys for whatever you put together, however you want it in your relationship and stuff. But those are some great things that you brought about the appetite of a man, but it's the appetite of a woman too.
I think yes, ma'am. Yes, I think we can. And be honest with you, I think that in those four, that's just four. It could be. It could be. You could add on to this what, how many, whatever you want to do.
Yes.
You know. Um, and I was sitting here. I said, you know what? I'm going to have to do something when I get off here. I'm going to go in here and take me some pictures called the before and after. Um, I was able to go to the doctor, and I saw my doctor, and I discussed with him about what had happened to me with my stroke and things like this, and we've got a plan worked up. I said, so what y'all see right now, you're gonna see this a few months.
All right,
You'll be
Come
a
now
on
work it
now.
total.
out, bro.
I'm taking back. I'm getting back.
Hercules,
I'm taking it
Hercules.
back.
I mean,
You're too funny. You're too funny.
you know,
Amen.
you,
Because I looked at that and I said, that's true. The physical, what I see, just as what I see, what does she see? So we as men must ensure that what we want ourselves to be in that what is that saying? As men like eye candy, women do too.
Exactly.
And so I'm just excited. I said, thank you, Jesus. Thank you. Thank you. Like you said, Hercules, Hercules, Hercules. Um, in that there was something came that popped up on my head. What do you do in dealing with those four appetites, whatever it might be that you're dealing with in your relationship? And your spouse, your significant other, makes a statement like, I'm not a morning person. The morning person, like some people say, I'm I don't like mornings. I'm when I get up in the mornings, I'm sluggish. I'm not receptive. I'm not really open minded or all ready for all that lovey dovey stuff and all. Look, give me a minute to wake up. But that carries on in the relationship, but it's not day. It's not morning. We're talking about afternoon. But the same concept of that spirit of that attitude carries over. What do you do? How do you fix it? Because it seems to me like if that is the case, um, does that individual truly love when they say they love? I get the part about. I understand when people say, "Let me get my coffee first. I'm not woken up." Oh, okay, okay. But
hmm.
I've recognized that the spirit of that statement to carry on and has carried on beyond what was called mourning.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Um, when one of my best examples, and I honestly thank God for being able to have this example, have this testimony, is being with a woman who said, "I'm not very sexual. I'm not very, I'm not very lovey dovey. I'm not very affectionate. That's not how I roll." Matter of fact, people used to refer to me. This is her telling me this. Refer to me as the ice princess, the ice queen. And me being a young, hope-filled, ignorant, naive Thundercat, thought that I
Not a
could change
thundercat.
that. I thought that I had enough juice
Ah,
to
the
bring her
juice.
around. I thought
Mm.
that just one sip of this here will change all your mind. For 17 years, I was wrong.
Come on.
So we've quoted this before. Maya Angelou said it. When someone shows you or tells you who they are, believe them. If there is a space where you know that right now we're not able to communicate effectively in at least three of the main communication spectrums, obviously speech, body language, right? Empathy. If we're not able to communicate in those three areas in this moment, at least those, then we don't even need to talk right now. We don't need to communicate right now. And so instead of me pressing in to push someone or pull someone out of that space, it's better for us to, a lot of times, leave them where they are. Leave them where they are for a moment, come back to it. If you can't get back to it, now we got a deeper conversation that has to be had. But giving people that space, and then what I've learned over the years is leading by example. Because I will say, obviously, association brings assimilation, especially if you are in a covenant relationship. Honestly, covenant in its primitive form, because there are some folks out there that are in a covenant relationship, but they wasn't in front of the now altar. They shacking and they've been, okay. So once you get locked in with someone, their association brings assimilation. They will start to pick up some of your traits. I'm technically not a morning person. Like, I really am not. But I know I am the strongest in the morning and I'm the most productive in the morning. So I get up and I get it done in the morning. If it's going to get done, it's going to happen in the morning. That's why I go to the gym early in the morning, because that's when I'm at my best. But I'm not a huge fan of people in the morning. So my wife knows this about me. She's come to understand this about me. My ex-wife, same, she's not a morning person. And so then it was like, but over time, you start to adjust to the other person's behavior. So even if you're not, you will kind of acquiesce at least a little bit in order for there to be some sort of camaraderie or conversation between us in those moments where I don't function well or I'm not a fan of, right? And so I think that's kind of across the board. You can almost sweep that across the board in every single facet of relationship, all the way down to the loving. Okay, there's going to be an acquiescing to, at least a little bit, your level of either sexuality or intimacy and affection. They will kind of meet you there. May not be as close as you want, but they'll kind of meet you there. So we have to look at those spaces too when people make an effort eventually, right? When they make an effort eventually. But it does pose a very interesting question and a topic for that couple. Have that hard conversation and ask, what are those things that just irritate the crap out of you? Because I don't want to purposefully
Yeah.
do it. Me
Yeah.
getting up in the
Right.
morning, I'm like, hey, let's get after it. And knowing that you're going to be like, bro, look, you better get
If you
after
don't
that
sit
pillow and
down,
go back to sleep.
you don't go.
Turn it,
Okay. So if I know that
turn it
about you,
down.
I shouldn't push you right in that area, but rather lead you to at least accepting it and being able to flow in it a little bit more than you do in this moment. But trying to get them to turn into you and respond the way you do. But hey, that's a uphill battle.
Yeah, that's true.
That's real good because lead, don't push. I think about the fact that Jesus was led in the wilderness by the Spirit. He wasn't driven. You
Mm,
cannot drive somebody into a space that they're not ready to go into. You have to lead them, because when you're leading someone, you gently are doing this. But when you're driving them, you're being forceful. It's back to that hammer and that pillar, knowing when to flip, knowing which one to use. And so everybody don't want to get beat up. I'm a morning person. I rise up early in the morning. Baby, most of the time before folks even get up, I done most of everything.
Yeah.
And I'm sitting
Yeah.
down because I was raised that way. My mama was an early bird, and she told me. And I used to laugh when I was younger because I thought, Y'all be getting up with the roosters and stuff, and all this other stuff. Baby, I'm up with the roosters now.
Yeah.
And so, but I don't put that on everybody else. It's time I can get up 2 or 3 o'clock in the morning. Baby, I done did some stuff. If I done did some stuff quietly, and they don't even know I done did. I done got everything done. Because I don't like leaving stuff undone. I really don't. That's a bothersome. And I think what you just said about being open to communicate what your pet peeves are, what your likes and your dislikes are, that is necessary because that's going to help your relationship to go in a specific direction. Because if you know that I don't like certain things, as such as what Apostle just said, that he don't like when you're not being attentive, you're not paying attention, and he will even test you on your attentiveness by throwing a monkey wrench in some of the things that he may have said just to see whether or not you heard him. So if you know that this is his thing and he don't want you to be caught up, because I'm telling you, I'm a multitask. That's just me. I'm gonna get it done. But when you learn someone, you've got to be able to submit to that, so you can grow that relationship with those small things. But the Bible says it's the small foxes that
The
destroy the
foxes
vine.
destroy the vine. Amen.
And so you got to
Amen.
be careful that it's not small stuff way down here that is destroying the vine of your relationship, of your marital situation. You arguing over who to left the fork in the sink. Is that something to argue about? You argue because you like the toilet paper this way and they like the toilet paper that way. Is that really something to argue about? Because we got toilet paper.
While you leave the toilet seat down,
That
hold on.
part. That part.
It's all of those things right there. But when you know that this is that person, because you done share these conversations with them, and you know that if you as a man, you keep leaving that toilet seat up, or if that toilet seat is wet, what is that? That's a problem for us
Yep.
because we got to
Yeah.
sit down.
Yeah.
So it becomes a problem. But again, if those are easy remedies, but many times people are failing miserable in the basics. In the basics, because they won't communicate what their needs are. And the thing is, we have to be open to the changing of the needs. What it may have been 2, 3 years ago may not be what it is now. So are you flexible? And back to, I think Pastor Ken just said, adjusting. Can you adjust? Can you be flexible? Can you go with the flow? Or are you rigid? You got to figure out what kind of person you are. Are you rigid? Do you like stuff regimented? Are you systematic? Are you
Um,
systematic? To
Dr.
be able,
Dr.
you want
Candace,
everything just lined up in a particular order. And if it ain't in that order, you coming unglued.
I like that.
Because me, I like order. I love order. Because when things are not in order to me in my mind, it symbolizes it's not working. It's not working. So now I need to have a conversation about why this thing is not working, why this thing is problematic. I have to have a conversation with you and tell you, hey, this is how I feel about it. Whether you agree with it or not isn't the problem. The thing is, do I have the liberty to be able to be free to be me? Because again, sometimes we don't want the real person. We want some figment
Safety
of our
net.
imagination. We want a fantasy. Oh, y'all,
I
we may
think
have to talk about Fantasy Island next on Thursday. Let me write that down.
Dr. Candace, I think that in that when you're talking about having the ability to be free, that comes from the safety zone, that comes from the security that has been developed in that relationship.
Yes.
Um, I don't know if we had discussed this or not or talked about it. I know we talked on it or hit about it, but I don't. I know a couple of times I may have missed it. I don't know if you talked about it or not. But as you were speaking and Pastor Ken, as you were talking, the thought came back to my mind about the airplane. I used to back in when was this? What year was it? I can't remember now. There was a air. There was an airport. Um, it was called Piedmont Airlines. I don't know if everybody know
I
about
remember
that.
that. I remember
U.S.
Piedmont.
Airways. Okay, U.S. Airways Piedmont, and so I had the opportunity, liberty, to work for them for about close to a year. And I remember that we learned a lot of the things. We had to learn the different codes of the cities where the flight was going to be flying into, departing. We had to make sure that we got everybody checked in, the bags, checked, marked if it's heavy, and all kind of things. Make a long story short, and I remember that you could work at the counter, but because the airport was a small airport, we had to leave from the counter, close the counter, because the flight is close to being loaded up with the passengers. Then we had to leave from the counter and go out to get ready to load up the luggage. And I mentioned it in flying the airplane, we must watch the weight restrictions. And I think in our conversations, the heavier the conversation, the weightier the conversation, the deeper you got to go. That person not being open to receive what you're talking about, or maybe not there on that level right now, or they just don't want to deal with it. I don't know. But I think we must be careful of the weight that we may be laying on that person, because they may not be prepared for that. If there is a weight restriction, they don't weigh the people, but they know how many individuals they can load onto that plane safely, along with the weight of the aircraft, along with the fuel, and all that goes in the combination, along with the weight of the baggage and the luggage, this and the other. So if they are overweight, they're going to have to do a couple of things. They're either going to bump somebody off the plane. First, they're going to ask for volunteers. If they can't get, and if they get a volunteer, they're going to try to make it up the best way they can for you. Maybe going to give you so many free hours to fly, maybe a free ticket to whatever destination you want to go, round trip. I don't know, depending, whatever, to compensate for that. But if you had to get bumped off that flight, then you're going to have to go back into the counter and start all over again to get to your destination. So I thought about the weight restrictions, because that plane has to be able to get up in the air, but it's also got to be able to land safely. Sometimes the aircraft, because of the turbulences, sometimes they will fly higher to get away from the turbulence. 9 times out of 10, they're going to go higher. But there are times where they cannot avoid the turbulences. And that's why the pilot is going to put that little light on. You'll hear a little ding sound, and the flight attendants will come on the radio and say, "Hey, our captain has just turned on the seat buckle sign. I need all passengers in their seat. We're going to have," and they're going to explain to them what's going on. Sometimes in relationships, we have turbulences. And we, as the pilot and the co-pilot, but with Christ at the center of that relationship, we have to decide what we want to do here. Are we going to fly higher to avoid these turbulences? Can we fly lower to avoid, or must we fly through them? Because even if you do fly higher to avoid the turbulences, when you come down, you still might encounter the turbulence. And depending on your aircraft, you can only go so high. A one propelled airplane that sits about 4 people in it, it cannot fly at a 30,000 foot altitude. No way, Jose.
It ain't built for it.
It's not built for it. No, as soon as you get that high, you don't have the oxygen. So people are, you gotta come back down. So I think that's important in our weight restrictions in our relationships.
You
Absolutely. I agree with you wholeheartedly. And I love the fact of couple of things you just said, man of God. I think that was just so phenomenal because I think that if you are not aware that there's a heavy conversation, when there's a heavy conversation that needs to take place, that
Yeah.
conversation cannot take place sitting in the bedroom. It cannot. Because again, that's usually a place of rest and a place of relaxation, a place of pleasure and things like that, a place of pillow talk, all those kind of things. But it cannot take place there. You got to be strategic of where you're having those heavy conversations at if you want it to be taken seriously. Because if you trying to keep having heavy conversation, you sitting you all up in the bed in a relaxed space, or you're in the bed and you're ready to have a pleasurable moment, it's not going to be to the degree it may not be received as well it may need to be
Right.
received. So that may be one where you need to come, let's sit at the table. And maybe again, that's a good place because y'all, we are just not talking about things. We want to bring some solutions to you. You may need to just get to the round table. Let's get to the couch. Cut the TV off, put your phone on silent, and let's talk about the reality of this heavy weighted conversation because we need full attention. As the man of God said, we need your full undivided attention. Because if you don't get that, then you're going to find yourself in a pickle. You're going to still be struggling. That even, let's say, if you don't got your pleasure mode, you done got that on and all that stuff, there's still going to be some strain in that relationship that don't have to really be there if you would take it to a different place to communicate. I like that very much. And I also like the fact when you said that you can't avoid the turbulence. I had to write that one down. You can't avoid the turbulence because in some periods of any relationship, it doesn't matter whether it's a marriage, a parent child, whether it's a friendship, employment, or business, whatever. It doesn't matter what the state, what that relationship may entail. But in every relationship, there's going to be some turbulence. But it's how you navigate, as the man of God said, how you navigate through that. There are times when you can go up higher. But then there's some time when you got to go down lower. And mentioning that while you were talking about that plane, I'd have been up on plane, baby. That plane hit that. It looked like we was on the side, leaning to the side, because it
Mm,
hit that runway, that tarmac, so hard.
mm.
So you have to know when to hold them. I got to use Kenny Rogers, y'all. You got to know when to hold them. You need to know when to fold them. You need to know when to run away. You need to know when to hide. You never count your money while you're sitting at the table because there'll be time for you to count it when the deal is done. Listen, that may be the time. And I want to scoot up over here because uh, 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 last week we was talking about some makeup sex. And that's what I'm talking about right there. What say you?
uh number one, welcome evangelist Rhonda
Yeah,
Harris.
hey, evangelist.
How you doing, sis? Um
Hello, everybody. Hello,
God bless
hello.
you,
I'm
Evangelist.
sorry it's not working, so I'm working on another way to get connected, okay?
Fantastic, fantastic. We look forward to you participating when you get it together. Amen. Um I'm sorry. Ask the question one more time, Dr. Candace.
I was saying last week we were talking about because it's leading right into what Apostle just said, leading right into you were talking about makeup section. You were saying, well, ain't nothing wrong with a little makeup section. And so, and for real, the only problem is that your situation is still gonna face you when it's all said and done.
Oh, that
It's
part.
still there.
Yes, 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 yes. So here's the thing. I will say there isn't anything wrong with there is I should say there's less wrong with makeup sex than meets the eye. There's less wrong with it than the connotation applied to it uh, um, deserves. However, that does only become a thing that is not going to be detrimental if there's conversation, if there is a space to discuss whatever it is we making up with this sex about. And so I think that's where the thing and the phrase and even the action, I think that's how it shifts with a mature couple, with a mature relationship, because it's going to happen. Um, and if both of you are locked in and that's the space you're in, then hey, have at it. Y'all in that Georgia the jungle, okay, go to town. But
Each
when
his
it's all
own.
said and done and you finish huffing and panting
Swinging
and
on
you
the
done gone to the
chandelier.
fridge and got your juice, come on and let's sit down and let's at least open up the space to discuss whatever it is that got us to not just having worship, enjoying each other's bodies and being pleasured by one another, but it ended up actually being make up sex, then what are we making up about? What are we making up about? And are we good? Right? I think that's the key. After it's done, are we good? And let's
We're good.
really
Yeah, I
talk
like that.
about it. Don't just
Yeah,
let it don't just let it go away. Don't just let it fizzle out like that climax you just had. Don't let it fizzle out like that. Stay locked in, and let's talk
That's
about it.
it.
Let's make sure, because sometimes, I mean, I'm gonna keep it, all the way 100 with you. If Lady B wants to get my attention, she knows how to get my attention, right? She knows how to get my attention. And for some couples, no matter how we feel about it, they do sometimes operate in that space where intimacy gets the other's attention. It gets them locked into one another, at least for a moment. So if that's the vehicle you have, then let's not prostitute it, right? Let's not take advantage of it. But if that's what you have, to utilize it, because you're gonna get a whole lot further with honey than you are with salt,
true.
right? But again, the maturation aspect of it is, what do you do after? What's the
That's right.
conversation after?
Yeah, because you can't just be jumping up in the sack
Mm-mm.
and then you forget all about. Because what happens in many times, stuff just start compounding.
Yes.
It's never forgotten. It's
Mm-mm.
compounded.
Mm-mm.
And how do we know? And all of us can testify to this. How do we know it's compounding? Because when you have that conversation for real, or let that person get upset about something, everything that they wanted
Oh,
to say that they didn't get a chance to say
come
is
on,
coming
Oh,
forth.
It's coming out.
come on.
It's coming.
Come on, we all know somebody who is really really good at pulling out old bullets in new situations.
And them
They'll
old bullets be working too. They
Yeah,
be
they do.
working.
Oh,
Y'all
they
don't
they
don't don't
still
sleep
shoot.
on them old bullets.
oh,
They
there's
still
still fire.
shoot. Oh,
Still fire.
They'll still pop off.
Come
Oh
on.
yeah.
right.
They'll
But
still
we have
pop
to
off.
but we have to learn how to not just de-escalate, deactivate. Men, women alike, but obviously me being a wholehearted, full-fledged, all the way, bruh, I'm gonna tell you, we need to learn how to be the bomb squad sometimes. We got to know how to go in there and tactfully disarm our wives, because life be lifing, stuff be happening. They deal with the flesh too. The enemy is running rampant. Circumstance, situation, all kinds of stuff comes up. And sometimes all of those, all that ammunition just gets stockpiled away and stockpiled away and stockpiled away. And yeah, it could be because I didn't microwave the leftovers long enough and it was cold in the center. And now all of a sudden, my mom stink and I never dressed well and all kinds of stuff. Like it can,
Stuff that ain't had nothing to do with it.
ain't nothing to do with
Real
Ain't
nothing.
simple.
had nothing.
But
No,
because
you know
nothing
what?
was
It's not. And
addressed
it's not.
and we didn't learn how to be discerning and assess what our wives deal with in any given moment, we never diffused anything and walked on the landmine in split
Mm-hmm.
second. And so we really need to learn how to be we need to learn how to be bomb squad sometimes and go in there. And the thing is, it's tactful, right? This is a tactful thing. If you work for the bomb squad, there's a lot of precise, decisive moves that are necessary, because if not, you're not the only one that's gonna get hurt.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Everybody blowed up if you do the wrong thing. If you go in hot and heavy, everybody is out of here. So you have to be tactful. Like we've talked about before, Dr. Candace, that pillow and the hammer. You gotta know what to do in those situations.
Pastor Ken, I'm glad you mentioned that. In my military career, I've had opportunity to work with what we call EOD, explosive ordnance disposal. So they used to use the old phrase, you can always tell who's EOD because they're going to have a finger missing here or two. And it is important because certain, like in the in the explosives that we used to use and things we had to blow up, you have what's called normal blasting caps that need to be crimped, used, whether it be dynamite or C4, what it might be. But then you also have what's called an electric blasting cap. Well, if you're going to have an electric blasting cap, you got to make sure you don't have certain things on your person, because that can trigger
interference.
that blasting cap. And if it does, well, hopefully you had not put the blasting cap inside the explosive material first. Because if you did, and you got something on you that is going to cause an electric, I'm not scientific, but there's a connect that you can have that can cause a spark or anything.
Yeah, static, and simply static.
Yeah, static. Thank you. And so that we must make sure that we don't have certain clothing on and working with that material. So, as you said, we have to be careful how we walk. Did I just walk into a minefield? And it's one thing to know where the minefield is, because in the military you have these signs, and you're walking, and in the training they will have these. It's like a triangle sign, and it will let you know. If you saw that, it's going to let you know that you're walking into a minefield, an unexploded ordnance. But if you ever come up on that triangle sign that's on the back, so all the writing, everything is on the other side, you are already in the minefield, and you didn't know it.
But hey, that's like if you could see the wrong way sign, you're already going the wrong way.
You're already wrong way. Yeah.
You already. That's a good point, Apostle. Oh man, that's a good point, because what I want everyone under the sound of our voices to understand, we are not talking about walking on eggshells for anybody. That is not what we're talking about.
Not at all.
Not at all. But what we are talking about is what God tells us that we are supposed to do, what he admonishes us to do with one another. And that's to walk with one another with grace and with love and with forgiveness. If we're moving and flowing in the love of Christ, I'll see the signs by way of conversation, how you're responding, body language. Like, I'll see the signs, but it is going to be up to me to be discerning enough to know what I'm seeing, and then also be discerning enough to do something about it or not do something about it, right? It could be that. Don't come over here right now. Well, I'm going to leave you be. That's done and done. You ain't got to worry about me stepping over there. I'll wait for you to come over here. I'll wait for you to come up out of that minefield, and meet me on this side where it's safe at. But it the thing is, we're both going to be in those spaces. We're both we're both going to be in a space where you step close enough to me, there's likely to be a kaboom, because that's just the day I'm having. But your spouse, your husband, your wife, if they cannot diffuse you because you're not allowing it, problem. If
Mm-hmm.
they can't diffuse you because they're not equipped to do it, we can work on that, right? There's just more understanding that's needed between the two of you. But I'm gonna have these bombs around me, and I don't care what you say, and I'm just gonna stay salty, and all that. What and no, no, can't do that. No, let it go. Evangelist Harris, let it go.
Yes, sir. Oh, let it go. Yeah, just go on and let it go. Don't just let it go. It'll be best that you do.
Now, can I add something to that on that right part there? She said, "Let it go, let it go." But by letting it go, does that mean that we just take it off the table and off the shelf and it's gone? Or does it allow us the opportunity to come back and revisit something that was a concern of yours? And I truly believe that if there's something I'm very concerned with in my heart and I want to share with my spouse, I would hope and think that she would be concerned about it as well.
Mm-hmm. That makes sense.
So,
It's interesting, Apostle. And let me rephrase it. Not necessarily recant, but let me reword. Because when I say let it go, I don't mean let it go in the sense that we usually use it. Like I'm just gonna drop it. I'm never gonna address. I'm not gonna touch it again. When I say let it go, it really equates to my training. I used to be a data center engineer for Amazon, and when we were having pressing moments where a lot of stuff had to go down, and we're in what they call the red zone, a very secure space, and so we'd be in there working, and while we're in there working, if something happened, let's say a major customer had an outage or something like that, we would all get a message, everybody in the red zone simultaneously, that would say, hands off, because too much going on right now. Hands off. That doesn't mean we won't come back to it. That doesn't mean we're not still monitoring it. Doesn't mean we ain't watching it. But right now, I can't touch it. So that's really what I mean when I say let
And
it
and,
go. Sometimes
and
we just need
sometimes
to hands off for a second.
sometimes it is best. Sometimes it is best to walk away. Sometimes you have to. You have to go back just to reset, regather yourself. Okay. You can always revisit, but it's always good to just, okay, this is not the time, the place, or the space for us to resolve this here. You know,
mm-hmm.
we need to step back for a moment and come back later.
Yeah. Because the reason I asked that question is because I can speak from experience. I just know I'm not going to deal with this right now. Okay. Well, we didn't deal with it last night. We're not dealing with it this afternoon. We're not dealing with it tonight. The whole weekend that went past, we're back here on it, and we still haven't dealt with it. Why aren't we dealing with this?
I would say there is a set time to deal with it.
Yeah,
And if
agreed.
you are at a place where, okay, time has passed. Sometimes there's more time passing in between dealing with something, and at other times there's less time. So you have to know when is the right time to reapproach the situation. And
Mm-hmm.
sometimes it's going to be a little bit longer because you may have to give your spouse some more time. You may
Mm-hmm.
have to give them some more time to calm down, to collect themselves, to collect their thoughts, to be in a better place and a better space to be able to bring resolution to what you need to revisit.
Mm-hmm. 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 Interestingly
Okay.
enough, I mean,
So,
if even if we, I think yes, it's timing. Timing is key. Timing is
There it
crucial.
is. There it is. That's
Timing
it
is
right there.
crucial. And but with timing, because God is about order and he moves seasonally, cyclically, right? There's cycles to things. If we allow it to come back around to us, that's less effort that we've put into trying to pull it out because it's going to come up. Catch what I'm saying? If we leave what we put in the ground alone, eventually it will come out of the ground. That's nature. That's the cycle. That's the process. That's how God made it. Same way, if there's something that has been rooted or trying to bury deep or just got planted in the garden of your frustrations or your life or whatever the case may be, give it some time to show itself before we just start trying to dig in and yank it out the ground. You're causing more disruption moving ground than you are waiting for it to sprout. So timing is key. Sometimes it's easier too, and there's growth. Cause see, if we're still functioning, even if we're not vibing, but we're still functioning, and it's not passive aggressive, and we not being short with one another. Yeah, there's a little something going on, but we're still moving. I'm good with giving it some time and
And we're
approaching it
still moving
when
together.
it's better.
We're not moving apart. We're moving together. We're still
Together.
moving together because you have to move together. You cannot let the situations cause you to separate or move apart. You have to always be joined in unity, even in a disagreement, even when it's not time to actually deal with something or confront something. You still have to be moving in unity, even in that.
Uh, as you're talking,
That's because you don't know how the person's feeling. You don't know how the person's feeling that you want, what the issue you want to talk about. You don't know how they feeling about the issue. It might be some deep-rooted issues going on with the about the conversation. So you have to give them time. You have to let that person come to the place, okay, where they're able to talk about it at a reasonable time where they're not frustrated, upset, because we don't know how somebody else feeling about a situation when we first ask them. Sometimes I ask my wife, baby, if someone want to talk to you about, is it all right? I'll ask sometimes, if I think it's a touchy situation, I'll ask, you know. So sometimes if we ask that person, is there something we can talk about? If they not come up with it, I'm not comfortable with it. Can we talk about it on a later date?
Well, we have
I think
Lady Charmaine. She stated something about it. She said sometimes a person cannot deal with the situation and they won't come back to bring that situation up. Avoidance. The problem is if the other person does not have a resolve, they may bring it back up in an argument.
I think I was looking at the scripture here. 1 Peter 3:7. It says, "Likewise, ye husbands, dwell with them according to knowledge, giving
Understand?
honor, giving honor unto the wife, as unto the weaker vessel, and as being heirs together of the grace of life, that your prayers be not hindered." So I think that kind of gave me my answer there.
Yeah, because again, if you're just quick straw McGraw to try to listen, we rather win the relationship and not an argument. We will want our relationship to be in a win-win. So whatever we do, we're always thinking of what's in the best interest of this relationship holistically. And so we won't find ourselves in a pickle just trying to get our needs met. Because again, the Bible goes on to talk about that whatever got the wife going don't belong to her, belong to her and the body, and vice versa. So again, you have to think for the win-win, the win-win situation of their relationship. You want to win, you want her to win. But if both of you all are trying to win an argument, trying to win a conversation and you're not having a healthy conversation, it's not going to build a relationship. So again, we have to learn not just from even our own experience, but learn from somebody else's. At least that's something that I do, y'all. To be honest, I try to position myself that I'm just not willing to just learn from what I know, what I've been through. I'm willing to learn what somebody else been through. Baby, I got a knot up on my head from years ago that it's a testimony. But when people ask me about it, it's an open door. I'm gonna share. And hoping that you will learn or take a lesson from my life as we ought to take a lesson from everyone else's life and so on and so forth, and just not get stuck, because again, we're going to miss the greatest part of the development of that relationship if we're seeing it from a dimensional point of view. You got to be open and be well-rounded to see this thing holistically. Look at the big picture and see, how does this thing really help? How does this thing really help our relationship? Now, some things I must agree, you gotta deal with some things. And again, dealing with those things, you can't be sitting over there up in the bedroom trying to deal with it. You got to get yourself over there. Let's get to that round table. And here, maybe that's a conversation that need to be had. When we know we got something tough we need to talk about, we got a designated place that when you go see them sitting there, you know this is bit on business right here. It's on business. And because you know that person is coming from a place of love for you, when you know that a person is coming, because it goes back to that safety thing that you guys were talking about earlier. When you know that person is coming from a place of love, then you know they ain't going to do nothing or say nothing to hurt you. They're not going to do it. They're going to say stuff that's going to help and nurture. Even though you may have to bring correction, even though you may have to bring direction, even though you may have to bring a rebuke or whatever the case may be, when it's coming from a place of love, it's going to be received. But if it's coming from a place of you pointing fingers, you did this, instead of saying, listen, here's the thing. In Counseling 101, we never tell somebody what they did. We tell them, this is how I feel. Because you can't feel for someone else, you can only feel for yourself. When this right here happened, this is how it made me feel. And being able to be free to say how you feel without feeling intimidated, without feeling overwhelmed, without feeling fearful, to be able to express yourself, without feeling like this person is going to dismiss anything that you have to say. That's on both sides, the man and a woman. You have to be open to say, okay, y'all, let's talk about what we really feel. Because one of the things I remember, I don't know who said it, one of you guys said it a while ago, and you talked about that if a woman or a man, if they do not have that space and that place to share, if they don't have that place and that space to share, what's going to happen if you shut them down, whether intentionally or unintentionally? If you shut them down, you may not see them open back up again. So there goes the lies, there goes the deceit, because they don't feel like they can come and be honest with you anymore. They can't be truthful with how they really feel. And nobody wants a relationship to be with someone that you can't really fully express what you feel, that you feel like you got to walk on eggshells and be careful of, oh, I got to be careful. But you ought to be discerning. You ought to be prayerful, and so on and so forth. So when you see your spouse probably at 40, you got to be all the way up so you can lift them back up. And sometimes it's not what we say, y'all, it's what we do. What are you doing in that space, in that place? That person, you just may need to go and give them a head rub. I think Evangelist said that. Go rub the temples. Don't say a word, just rub the temple. Whole time, baby, you got to use wisdom. The Bible say be wise as a serpent, but harmless as a dove. Baby, you got to go and anoint them. Baby, come on, let me run your bath water. Let me go and give you a massage. Let me go ahead and do this. You're not putting any pressure on them, no demands, especially if they're not in a space, in a place to be able to deal with any particular situation. But if you study them, the scripture you just used, 1 Peter 3:7, it don't say wives. What did it say?
Husbands.
Husbands, likewise,
Husband,
be husbands. And
husband,
it said, dwell
go
with
back.
them according to knowledge.
What do you know about her? What have you learned about her? What have you studied about her? We got to take notes right there from that scripture. It's so powerful. So we can know how to move in and out. Because just like we move in and out of people, we have to know how to move in and out. Because we're not always at our peak. None of us. But you got to be alert and aware that when your spouse is not at their peak, sometimes you just don't want to even talk. Sometimes you just want to go home, throw whatever you got to throw down and sit down. You don't want to hear no voices. You don't want to do nothing. But when that person know how to set the tone, they're going to create an atmosphere. Whether it's that man setting that tone, that woman creating that atmosphere, it can change the trajectory and the whole dynamic of a conversation.
Yeah.
That's true.
Man.
That's true. Dr. Candace, one of the things that you said, I, I love it, and I think for a large body of married couples, that is something that will likely work very well for them, and that is designate a space for you to have uh, serious conversation, deep conversation, pointed, intentional conversations, and for it to not be the bedroom. What I will say is, I won't say that that is an old perspective, because I don't believe that to be true. However, what I would say is that is a nuanced perspective these days, because I know, again, from experience, for two relationships, two major relationships. The first one, it was actually texts. Text would be what happens. That's if we already realize we're not vibing, some fussing didn't happen, argument didn't happen, it still has to get taken care of. So then it's kind of, we both go to our separate corners. And then there's a series of texts that would happen. Because I can't look at you right now, because if I look at you, you're going to piss me off. Be honest with you. If I see you, I'm going to want to put hands on you. So I'm going to text, and at least I can get the thought out. I could get the thought out and you not hear the inflections in my voice, you not hear all that. Just read it. Read the content, and let's have an exchange that way. Now, were there heated texts? Absolutely. But that was one way that things got done. Let's text to talk about it and get through it. And then eventually, once we've gotten the negative emotion, or dare I say heightened emotion, sensitive emotions out of the mix, and now we can actually talk free of those types of feelings, and we can start look at this holistically, a little more discerning, with a lot more grace, so forth and so on. And then we actually start to verbally communicate. That was then. Now, and I praise God for it, with me and Lady B, it's not even that. It is, if there's a tough conversation that needs to be had, it's posture. It's not place. It's not proximity. It's posture for us. If I see her posture shift and I hear her tone change, I know she mean business. Not that she doesn't any other time, but I know right now, oh yeah, this is serious. Sometimes that happens while we are in the middle of getting ready. Sometimes while we're in the bed. We've had long, serious conversation when we pulled up to the grocery store. We supposed to be going in here to get our salad and going home. Ended up, really broaching that subject right there in the parking lot, right? So sometimes it's less about proximity and more about our posture. Have we postured ourselves to present a front that says, yeah, I think right now is the time. Let's chop it up right now. And sometimes you'll find that depending on the space and allowing proximity to not be the greatest factor, you find yourself in some really welcoming spaces to have conversations. Again, me and her having, almost an hour conversation in the car outside the grocery store, but there was a lot that got accomplished. And then when we got home, oh, we were extra Gucci because we already took care of it. We talked about it, right, and we weren't in these four walls, right? So sometimes that happens as well. So, Yes, again, I do agree. I would say both and. I do agree. Sometimes the bedroom ain't where you need to do it, but sometimes the bedroom is the best place because again, it depends on what the posture is. The other thing was you mentioned pointing the finger and what we're able to see, and Apostle McClendon, you mentioned this with regards to weight, and so I was one of my favorite fighters and philosophers, quite honestly, Bruce Lee, which a lot of people don't really realize he was an amazing philosopher. He was saying that don't think, feel. He says like a finger pointing away to the moon. Don't concentrate on the finger, or you will miss all of that heavenly glory. And like if you really think about it from that perspective, if we point up at the moon and go right in our line of sight, our hand is in the way. Our hand is in the way of what we're pointing at. So I can't see it because I've put my hand in the position of where it is. All I need to do is simply look up. I don't need to point out anything. I just need to look to you. So for me and Lady B, if there's something going on, I don't necessarily need to point out anything in this moment, but I am going to be found looking towards her. That's presenting that pillow before God releases me to apply the hammer.
And here's the thing too, if I could add this, and Pastor Kevin, we're gonna let you come on in. With you guys, I'm backing up in the fact of when you guys were talking about lead, don't push. I want to add to that too. Ask, don't tell. You want to ask somebody because there's a difference when you're asking somebody when you're versus you trying to tell somebody. You ain't their daddy. You ain't their mama. Ask them. How do you feel about this? You're going to get a very different response versus you telling them you need to. Because if you come off like that, baby, they done shut you down at the word you. You've been shut down. What say y'all?
That is so true. Can y'all hear me?
Yes.
I'm
Yeah.
glad y'all helped me out tonight. Y'all really has because for the last 2 days, my wife did my study. She redid my floor, and I haven't had no volume in the morning, so I didn't know what was going on, what's wrong with my system. So now I was able to use y'all as my feedback. Now I know I hooked it up in the right place now. But I thank y'all. I appreciate that. You know what? See, y'all amazing. Y'all amazing. This is amazing teaching.
Amen.
And I just want to say that I was thinking about that today in my spirit. Such a great team that God had put together, y'all. I was at my desk today, and the Holy Spirit put that in my spirit. We don't know how we all came about in this setting, but God had this thing put together the way He wanted to put it together. And now, what y'all was talking about, I've learned the hard way of my brothers and sisters. But sometimes I joke with my wife now. I see the dishes in there, right? And I know she been working hard around the house, doing stuff, making T-shirts, doing stuff for everybody else. And I said, baby, how come these dishes ain't washed? You know what she say? You see them, wash them. You know what I'm saying? But not as a joke, but at one time it wasn't. But I had to learn that she don't want me telling her what to do all the time because she told me this one time, Kevin, I'm not a robot. I'm human. I have
That's
feelings.
it. That's
See
right.
what I'm saying? So I had to learn how to adjust her being human because we both had that book, Men Are from Mars, Women from Venus. So we both sat down and read together, to understand each other better. We even read the powers of the subconscious mind. So we did this as a couple to understand each other better, how each other flow, what each other like. Sometimes I'm too heavy-handed on her. Sometimes I pat her backside. I don't like you doing that too hard. She said, I'm a woman. I'm gentle. See what I'm saying? So, and then sometimes there was conversations in the past where I want to talk about something, but I want to talk about it at the wrong time, and I would blow up because I want to talk about it now. Then I had to learn there's a time to talk about it because it made peace in the house. I didn't want when she don't want to talk about it, I got to respect her wishes, live with her with understanding. Okay, she don't want to talk about it right now. So I come back maybe a week later or 2 weeks later, baby, you want to talk about that now? She said we can talk about it today. I'm in a better place. I'm in a better state. So yeah,
That's right.
we have to learn. It takes time, but it takes people that been through relationships that can help other people and build their relationship. But people got to be willing to learn from other people and not thinking that I got this. No, relationships take a lifetime to work on. Two
Yeah,
imperfect
and I think
people,
But that's
two
every
imperfect people
relationship.
live in an imperfect world. So we got to take time to work with each other, and it's always gonna be something that we got to deal with it with each other.
I
So
just want,
thank you, team.
well, thank you, our brother. We appreciate that. Um, I just wanted to jump in here real quick just to say one thing, that even when we're giving each other space and time to, what are you doing while you're giving that person the space? What are you doing while you're giving the person the time? Are you sitting eagerly just waiting to have the conversation? Or are you praying? Are you reevaluating yourself? How you feel, what you think, how you want to address it in love so that you can get a resolution. So are you doing what you need to do? Are you doing what you need to do before coming back to the round table, the square table, the car, wherever, before you come back to a place to have the conversation, to revisit that place? What are you doing in the meantime? Because there's things that you should be doing because you know that this is going to come again. And you want it to come in a peaceful manner. You want a peaceful resolution, and you want it done in love with understanding. That's
I
all I want
agree.
right there.
And I wanted to add this to it too, about making sure that we're not shaming nor are we blaming. Because again, you're going to get the shutdown. If you're shaming that every time a person try to open up their mouth and they try to express, this is how I feel. We can't stop anybody from feeling what they feel. We can't stop them from doing what they do. We can't stop them from acting the way that we cannot. We certainly can, though, on the other hand, influence them. We can. But you have to ask yourself, am I influencing you in a good way or in a negative? Am I influencing my spouse in a positive? Or every time my spouse does something, I get mad with somebody on my job and I'm coming home and I'm jumping all on my spouse. My spouse don't even know nothing about what's going on. And you should always want to put your spouse in a place, or never should want to put your spouse in a place to where when your spouse get around you, your spouse can end up in resentment because you keep backlashing on them. That they ain't got nothing to do with whatever that's going on with you. But you backlashing on them and they feel the pressure. And the reason why you're doing it is because you think that your spouse should constantly be that safe place for you. But you make it unsafe for them when you start backlashing on them. You start shaming them, when you start blaming them, when you start taking a coward way out of the situation. If you feel what you feel, it's okay. Let's deal with it. But don't utilize what you feel to be able to utilize that as an excuse to keep on shaming and blaming. Talk to me right there, y'all.
First, Pastor Kevin, no, we cannot hear you. Yeah, we can't hear you yet. No, sir, we can't hear you. Yeah, check. Yeah, check them settings one more time, doctor, because we need to hear you. Um, the one thing that I would say, Dr. Candace, with that, oh my gosh, and everything that we've shared, I was just kind of thinking and I'm traversing notes, and I'm like, oh my gosh, this is kind of how I look at it and equate it, and that is really it's almost like everything that we're talking about, especially from the negative perspective, it can be equated to abuse, um, and misuse, and if we are mishandling our spouses, if we are mishandling our husbands, our wives, it's literally like getting the Lego kit, and you're taking this Lego kit and you dump all the pieces out in the middle of the floor and you start building. I mean, you are getting after it, but you have not taken the time to look at the plan, the instructions, and you don't even know what the heck it is you're building. You're literally just going, and
That's good.
something is going to be inevitably left out. Something's going to be missed. There's a piece that is not going to be there because you didn't take the intentional steps of doing the pre-work before you started jumping into this thing. And
And
then
you
on the
can't
flip side
always.
of that, what happens when you leave a Lego? I have any of y'all ever stepped on a Lego?
Oh
Oh,
my.
You talking about everybody in a 5 foot radius getting a cussing, because that hurt. So it's like, but how many Legos have we left just laying around in random places because we weren't intentional about really taking the steps to handle the circumstances and situations, the arguments, the ups, the downs, the not vibing, and things of that nature with our spouses, with our loved ones in general. I mean, we just got to be very careful.
Has
You
the man
know,
ever said this
shit.
to his wife or to a significant other? I might not be the best man, but I'm the best man God chose.
Hey,
And
oh,
y'all, I came in, got right on the Zoom, and didn't go in there and speak to my wife, so that's why I left. I had to go in there and say hello to my queen, so I had to come on back. And that's how I feel when I met her. I said I might not be the best man, but I'm the best man God chose. So I allow God to work on me and get change me, and Him changing me, it changed our relationship to be better because God's work on the man. He cultivated me. He worked on me. He pulled some stuff out of me to better our relationship. I mean, it hurts. Yeah, it hurts because we shaped so many different bad ways of thinking, bad ways of teaching that we have gotten, that we had to reprogram ourselves to be who we are today because of the bad teaching we got of how a man perspective of man was. And it never was like that the way people gave it to me anyway. I'm gonna say me. The way people gave it to me, that ain't what a man was like, putting our foot on our woman all the time. Cause she ain't no doormat. She ain't no socking bag. She ain't none of all that stuff. But that what they told us, she only good to have babies and be on her back. That what it was told us, and that was wrong teaching. And I said that one day, I'm being honest. I said that one day to her, and boy, that was the wrong thing to say. But man, and then when we get that teaching like that, it steals in the man's mind. And then when the woman get it, he jacked up because he was taught like that.
And
I
here's
just
the thing
wanted
I
to go
want to
back
add
to.
too. Go ahead, Rhonda. Go ahead.
I just wanted to go back to what Pastor Ken just said about the instruction with the Legos. And sometimes, Pastor Ken, I would say that sometimes we just look at the picture. We don't read the instructions. So we miss the signs. This is how we leave out Lego pieces because we so busy trying to find the picture. So my question would be is what picture are you watching? Because that's the picture that you're modeling behind. And if that picture is not the way it should be, it's not the correct modeling that you should be following. It didn't give you all the details. It is not showing you an exemplary relationship. Okay. Where you get to see, we have some couples that you say, oh man, you get to see their relationship live and in charge. And you say, oh, so that's how I'm supposed to do it. So when you're reading the instructions, don't just look at the picture or don't dismiss the instructions and only see the picture, because in that you're going to miss something that was very crucial, that was very important to what you're supposed to be building, what you're supposed to be putting together. That's how the Lego got left. That's how the screw got left. That's how come you missed the nut or the little washer or whatever. You missed something because you were so busy focusing on the picture when you should have been reading the instructions.
Lady
And the
Rhonda, you
wheels
done it
fell
again.
off.
Pastor Candace,
And the wheels fell off.
I thought we done warned her about doing that. In the
Now
ninth
this
hour, that's when
wow.
you want to speak
Oh
up.
my goodness.
Come on now. But you know what? You absolutely right. And what we see, even if we can both have the manual in front of us, And we see the picture, haven't bust open that manual yet. The picture that we see, I'm seeing it one way, you're seeing it one way. Ain't nobody cracked this thing open to get the details. And you wondering why there's pieces left over? What are you thinking?
Or why it's wobbly and falling apart.
But guess
It
what?
I
has
said the
no
Wilson fell off.
structure. It has no.
How many folks done misbuilt something, and instead of undoing and
They go
redoing
get glue.
correctly,
They go get glue.
glue, duct tape, gorilla glue, gorilla tape, magic seal. We gonna get everything because it's
Come on.
easier for me
They
to
even get support.
bandage. It's easier for me to
Take it back.
bandage than it is to actually to heal, because there's a difference. If I put a band-aid on something, that's extremely temporary, but
Ooh,
that's
I wrote
easy.
that down.
It's harder for me to heal. That takes time. So we just rather put the band-aid on it and then ignore the fact that it ain't working the way it's supposed to be working, because I'm going to act like it is. I'm going to
Oh,
act like everything's okay.
I wrote that very thing down, the Band-Aid effect, when we was talking about makeup sex. It's like a Band-Aid effect. You still got your issues, but still you're gonna go and try to smooth over here. And sometimes it may get you in a good headspace. It may. After it's said and done, it may get you in a good mood to where now we can have that courageous conversation. But again, maturation is very important. Just growing up and developing and stuff. It's just so important. So you won't utilize that as a band-aid effect. That
Come
you
on, we
just
ain't doing no
slinging
cover-ups. We're not doing the
no
band-aid
cover
is a
up. That the
cover-up.
word, sis.
We're not
No
even
cover
doing
up.
no cover-up. That's what a band-aid does. It covers up. You need to have that thing exposed.
Wait, Dr. Candace, that's what laughing gas is for. That just, you know what I mean? That lighten the mood for you so you can get this drilling you about to get. We just gonna lighten the bit.
Okay.
All that is local
Yeah.
anesthesia.
That's exactly what it may end up being. So it could be helpful, but that shouldn't be the norm. If I could say that, it shouldn't be the norm of your developing a healthy relationship. Don't make that just a norm. Be able to communicate, because again, if communication is the key to any relationship, then you want to be able to use your words, not your body.
And it is the key to
Woo,
every relationship. It is the key
ladies,
90%.
to every
90%
relationship. Communication is the key to every relationship,
say
whether it
that.
be you and God, whether it be you and your husband, whether it be you and your children, whether it be you and a sister or a brother.
Mm,
Communication is the key to every relationship. Without it, you have a problem, Houston. Houston, there's a problem when there's no communication.
that
Because with
part.
no communication, there's no understanding. Without no understanding, there is no knowledge. Without no knowledge, you ain't have nothing.
Didn't
It's a
God and Adam
wrap.
stop communicating in the garden? He said, "Where you at, Adam?" He said, "I hit myself." So they weren't communicating. Then we walk in the cool of the day at one time, Adam. Yeah, we did. We was in fellowship. We was communicating. But when that communicating stopped, Adam hid himself. So that and the communication, 9% of every relationship.
Ladies,
Yeah, you got to
how
do it.
much more impressed, locked in, or dare I say, rightly infatuated with your husbands, uh uh would you be if they, instead of jumping on an opportunity for makeup sex, or jumping on an opportunity to be intimate without any resolve, wouldn't you just be way more impressed if you open the door and they say, you know what, why don't we just talk?
Open the door and you walk through it. Yes. Come on.
Yeah, we'll definitely be impressed by that, because again, usually we as the women, we are more probably talkative. We are probably somewhat more even expressive for the most part. We're going to say whatever, y'all ask us how was our day, baby. We done took you from the time we woke up. We done gave you the integral details of our day. And on the other side of that, when we ask the man, well, how was your day, honey? It was all right, just to the point, just short and to the point. Or you getting
Short
the
and sweet.
thumb. You ain't even
Short
getting,
and sweet.
okay.
I give it a whole 5-4.
Most
are
men
a
don't do
rarity,
that.
sir. You are a
Yeah,
rarity,
most
sir. 'Cause
men don't do that.
I
most
give
men don't do
Most
that.
men ain't.
it helps me to wind down. She's my sounding board when I come in from work, and she said, "Baby, how was your day?" And I tell her what was going on throughout the day. But if we don't talk during the day, so I tell her when I get home, when I sit down, I'm having dinner. She asked me how my day was, and I tell her the whole four, 5, 6, whatever went on. I give it to her. I share with her and help me to release my day with her, and vice versa, So but like I said, it took time, and it didn't happen overnight. It took time for the
Yeah.
brother to get there.
Well,
I'm gonna eat dinner, y'all.
you going to eat dinner?
Yeah.
All right, y'all, yeah, because we over our time once more and again, y'all. We tried to stick to that hour and a half, that ballpoint five, but sometimes we just be over. And it's all right though, because this was a really, really good conversation. Apostle, let me quickly, because I really wanted to say this real quick. He gave uh, um actually it was 5 things, Apostle. At least I wrote down 5. If I'm wrong, then if you'll help a sister out. 5 things. He was talking about the appetite of a man, and we realize this same appetite a woman have it too. um you want to quickly say those again, because I want to lead the folks with this, because when we come back next week, I mean on Thursday, we're going to tap right on into this and keep it moving. Those appetites.
The 4 appetites I mentioned were emotional, physical, visual, and sexual.
Okay, and let me add the
Let me hold,
mental on
let
there
me hold
too.
my mule. Let me
Mental,
hold my
You got
okay.
to add the mental, because your
Add the
thinking
mental.
got to
I
be
like, okay.
involved. Yeah, that's why I thought you had said all 5, and those are the 5 I wrote down. That's why I wanted you to say them again. And so, can you just quickly say real quick, and we're gonna get on about it here, y'all, and see y'all on Thursday. When these needs are not met, what happens?
The enemy is going to send somebody that direction who will give you and feed that appetite that you have.
That's for sure.
I'ma hold my mule till Thursday. I'm
You got
being
you got
good.
the range on. You got the rain on it.
I'm being good over here in this corner. Because he started calling off that physical, that visual, and oh Jesus, a download came. I said, oh Lord, I gotta hold that till Thursday.
Well, y'all, we're gonna see y'all on Thursday, because what a wonderful way. We want to give you something to ponder on, something to think about for Thursday, and be ready to rock and roll, because I'm telling you, we're gonna come back and we're gonna get a little bit deeper into these things, because you've got to be able to be on top of it. You got to be alert, you got to be focused, you got to be present and in the moment. Don't be over there and you lost over in the soul somewhere. They trying to talk to you, your mind up over there. As they used to sing the song, your body's here with me, but your mind on the other side of town, Pastor
On the
Kevin.
other
You remember
side of
that, Pastor
town.
Kevin?
That was one of my
Your
favorites.
body's here with me, but your mind is on the other side of town. Get your mind up over there where it need to be at, and start letting it be all on the other side of town.
Let your mind and body stay together, baby. Let it stay together.
Synchronize.
Come on here now. It needs to be in harmony. There should be no discord. There should need to be harmony, unity. Let the body and the mind stay together. I'm not messing with y'all tonight. Y'all notice I'm being real quiet.
All right, so let's see who gonna go ahead and lead us on up out of here on tonight.
We'll
Matter of
take
fact,
Praise
before we do that, wait a minute, before you pray, let me go ahead. I want to get this quick PSA one more time. Y'all, come tomorrow. The flyer is going to be up. The men conference is coming forward. Pastor King, you want to give your announcement? I'm going to let all of you all give your own announcement on what's about to come. And let's go with Pastor King. Then I'm going to come in. Then Pastor Kevin, then Evangelist, because yours is the last event. So we're going to go in order, because there's something for everybody every single month. Come on, talk to us.
Amen. So we're going to be having on May 24th, Friday, May 24th, 7 to 9, and Saturday, May 25th, tentatively from probably about 9:30 to about 1:30. It is going to be the on-demand men's conference, semi-virtual men's conference. Semi-virtual because I will be streaming that out, broadcasting that out through Teams from my home. So those that are in the DFW area, those men that are in the DFW area that would enjoy the opportunity to hang out in person and do this thing together, please come out. Let me know. Let's make that happen. But we will be sending this out virtually. We have an amazing lineup of men that are going to be a part of this, that are going to be presenting. We have a number of subject matters. This is going to be different. This is going to be different. This is not going to be a typical Zoom call, Teams call, or anything like that. We're going to be interactive, but we're going to be getting down to the crux of the matter, because the theme question is, what's really going on with you? What's really going on with you? So we're going to open up the floor for that. We're going to have discussions around that. We're going to attempt we're going to attempt to flow in a space where God can use us and really share with us how we could be better men, husbands, fathers, brothers, co-workers, owners, business owners, the whole nine, right? We want to be better. So that's what we're going to be doing. Tap in. You will see a flyer coming out this week, and you'll see subsequent flyers and PSAs coming out as we get closer to the event as well.
Absolutely. We're excited about it. And the next event you're going to see is going to be June 14th through the 16th. The Sister Girls, we're going to be on the lake right here in Grand Prairie, Texas, for the Sisterhood Retreat with yours truly, your girl, your sister, your cousin, your auntie, and your friend. Yes, it's going to go up, up, up. Y'all, we are super excited. We got lots of things that we're going to be doing, sharing a whole lot of things, a whole lot of things about what's really going on with the women too, because we want to help you. And our theme is "Girl, I Got You," because we want the sisters to know that we're here, contrary to what the world say, the culture say, that we are catty, we don't get along. The devil is a lie. We're gonna show them that we do get along, that we are our sisters keepers. Yes, we are. And so you want to inbox me or go to my Facebook page and look at the flyer that's already there, so you can get your space in the place, because it's going up, up, up. We look forward to having you.
All right. And I'm Pastor Kevin White with Full of Faith Christian Center. It's a men's conference, June 22nd. It's from 10 in the morning to 2 in the afternoon. And our theme is our identity and confidence. That is our theme. It's a free event. Come on out. It will be food service well. Bring some men with you. It's a men thing. We're talking about men, trying to get men to realize our identity and confidence back in the men. For more information, call 469-309-1793. Thank you.
And I am Lady Rhonda Harris. Let me tell you, we're going to have a good time. At the time is now on July the 18th through the 20th. All roads lead to Roanoke, Virginia. This is a time for the body of Christ to come together so that we can unify and get our instructions to get back to being about our Father's business. So again, that is July the 18th through the 20th here in Roanoke, Virginia. You can go to the Eventbrite and purchase your ticket. So if you want to come by bus, plane, train, car, hoop it, and it ain't gonna break down, okay? Whatever you need to come by, if you got to swim, walk, or crawl, get to Roanoke, okay? And if you just get to Roanoke and be a part of the Time Is Now, because the time is now to start walking in your calling, to start doing the things that God has called you to, and to be about his business. See you there.
And Apostle, we don't want to leave you out. You got something going? Or you can,
No, I
I
don't
know
have
you
any.
joining in.
Huh?
I said, I know you joining in with all of this that's going on, because you're going to be a part of every last one of these things here. You got something going?
Oh, not at this time.
Okay, well, I'm telling you.
And I will
Go
say
ahead.
this for all of our things that are going on. If you can't make it, for some reason, if you can't be at the men's, the sister retreat, the conference, The time is now. Sponsor somebody, sow into somebody else so that someone else can get what they need from God. So look on this, find out where, go to our pages and look for the information and sow, even if you can't, or sponsor somebody else that can come out and be there. And we thank you.
Amen. All right, somebody can go ahead and close us out. We want to thank you and ask that you stay abreast of all of these wonderful announcements. So you got something going on to keep you ignited, because this ain't no time to fall back, look back, go back, talk back, or do any backwards things. It's just not that. We're not in that day and time no more. We ain't got time for it. Because I'm telling you, the enemy is out here doing what he does, stealing, killing, and destroying. But I'm so glad that we are all in this Trinity Co-op staying in the I am. We come to bring you life and that more abundantly in Jesus Christ. Yes, indeed. So you want to tune in, stay plugged in with everything that we got going on. And in the morning, y'all know I want to see you there bright and early for our at 7 a.m. What matter of fact, let me back up, because before 7 a.m., Apostle, we wanted to know, is your prayer at 4, is that on Facebook or is that
No, it's not.
private?
It's private.
Okay. Okay. So it's private. Okay. So can't nobody tap into that private setting, right? And so, okay, so Pastor Kevin will be on at 6 o'clock every morning. He's there in prayer. If you need to get yourself plugged in to prayer in the morning, every morning, 6 a.m., you can want to meet with Pastor Kevin live right there on Facebook. 7 a.m., you want to catch up with your girl, your sister, your cousin, your auntie, your friend at 7 a.m. for morning platter. Baby, you're going to get them eggs. You're going to get pure protein. And I'm telling you, it's going to get gooder and gooder. Y'all, I love y'all. Somebody pray us out, because I'm getting excited.
Well, dear Heavenly Father, first of all, we thank you for our time and space in this place. And we thank you for all those who joined in on the conversation, made comments, or just listened. And we believe, Father, that they have gotten what they needed. And until we meet in this place again, but we never leave your presence, we ask that you cover everyone in their prospective places, all of our ministries, God, and you continue to have your way through these great men and powerful women of God and the people of God. And everybody say, Amen.
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 God bless y'all. Have a good night.
Have a good